Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
Welcome to the right time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. We are back, baby. Yesterday, as many of you know, was a very, very important day to this show, really, as much as anything else, the sort of thing that we celebrate. So, Shannon, I look to you at this very moment, and I want everybody to hear me as I say this. Happy birthday, Beyonce.
Still? I mean, come on. It's been an entire day now. Still?
You're right. I'm tripping. Hey, shout out to my homeboy Clarence out in L.A. Happy birthday to him. Homegirl Josie in New York. Did I miss anybody, Shannon?
Keep going. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. And Braylon's daddy. Happy birthday to him, too.
Appreciate it.
See, there you go. There we go. We are back. Been gone for a while. I missed a couple of you. Anyway, it's crazy. I'm back, and they still haven't figured out what in the world it is that they're going to do with this Ezekiel Elliott thing. Or is it more accurate to say that the NFL had figured out what they were going to do with Ezekiel Elliott, and then after they figured it out, the lawyers got involved, and it's like, wait a minute, I don't know if we can actually do that thing. Yeah. So there's that. Now, Shannon, help me make sure I got this right. There is a court hearing tonight at 6 o'clock Eastern, and our expectation is that we will hear the NFL's decision on his appeal from before 6 o'clock. That's what we're guessing, right?
Correct, yes.
And your man Harry the Henderson is handling the appeal?
It's correct.
I get so confused every time I see that because his name is Harold Henderson, and that makes me think of Harry and the Hendersons, but he's the only Henderson that's here. And when is the last time you thought about Harry and the Hendersons? Like, Harry, in fact, I remember enjoying Harry and the Hendersons without any actual idea of what Harry and the Hendersons actually was. Anyway, here's what we've got here. Zeke's people have been saying for the longest the NFL has been up to various levels of shenanigans when it comes to this. The big one that we found out about is that the only investigator for the NFL who had actually talked to the alleged victim recommended there be no punishment, and there was punishment anyway. Then we find out the woman, Lisa Friel, who's, works in the NFL. Shannon, did you see this where somebody popped up and was like, yeah, she has a long track record of prosecutorial misconduct. Did you see that one?
Oh, no, I must have missed that.
Yeah. Somebody basically was out here just like, yo, man, like, this is her steez. Like, this is what she does. Like, this whole thing has gotten so ridiculous, and I think we're now in a gray area about this where I don't. All right, here's probably the best way for me to put this. I understand everyone who makes the argument about this, that the only thing that matters here is whether or not Ezekiel Elliott committed an act of domestic violence, right? And I understood at that point when people made the refutation or responded, rather, to whether or not the alleged victim was lying about various things. That it's not really so much about whether she lied about insert thing here. It's about whether or not she's telling the truth about domestic violence. Yes, I think that is true. Largely. Here's where this gets to be complex. The NFL system is so broken, apparently, in the way that they handle things that you do reach a point after a while where whether or not somebody did something becomes of declining consequence. Not in like the grand macro scheme of, take it up with St. Peter type stuff, but in terms of what the NFL actually does. We're at a point where I'm not sure if the biggest question is whether or not Zeke did something or whether or not the NFL just has a full-on 100% rigged system when they're making these decisions about what to do with guys in matters of, anything. Because that's what we're stuck with here is looking at the league, and it's just like, yo, what in the world is it that you guys are doing? Now, I want to make sure I find this link. I couldn't come across it right fast before we got out here. But Forward Star Telegram had a story where they were saying that there was someone that Jeffrey Kessler, Zeke's lawyer, wanted to talk to about the case. And they told him, no, actually, that person is out of work with an illness. Right. That person is out of work with an illness. And then apparently the homie was not actually out of work with an illness. What? Shannon, what kind of scam is that?
Cockamamie, if you ask me.
That's this one right here. They basically said this. Hey, can I speak to Tom? I'm not here right now. Can I take a message? Who's not here? Tom. Tom not here. Because like Cockamamie, how about this, Shannon? Harebrained. Do you think that this one qualifies as harebrained?
After harebrained always comes the word scheme, right?
Yes.
So you can't have a harebrained plan. It's always a harebrained scheme.
No, right. It's a cockamamie plan. It is correct. A harebrained scheme. So I'm looking at the league and I'm like, yo, what is it that you're doing? Because there's not much that I can do when it comes to the matter of Zeke and like what actually went down. I mean, I've gone through the report and all that stuff. What the league seems to be banking on, and you guys let me know if I've got this wrong, but what the league seems to be banking on primarily is the idea that there were pictures of bruises and the pictures had metadata, and the metadata showed that the bruises the pictures of the bruises were from the day that the woman alleges that Ezekiel Elliott beat her up. Now, Zeke's people apparently sent a doctor in to his appeal to say that there is no way that you can tell from a photograph whether or how long a bruise has been there, whether it's new, whether it's old, whatever it is, right? Like, that's the response that you got from Zeke Elliott on that one. I mean, I guess I'm not a doctor. There is a hotel joke to tell. I'm just not going to be the one to do it. I have no idea what any of this is, but now I'm just at the end of this with the league where I'm like, bro, what are y'all doing? Because there is a certain level of trust and faith that I feel like consumers are offering here, right? Like, I feel like if you are following the NFL, and by the way, if you believe that the NFL is required to regulate on these matters, because the NFL is doing this because they believe that this is what fans want, right? Mark Cuban even said this, remember, when he talked about the thing that you got to watch out for if you're the NFL was, hey, man, the quote was, you can't have players acting the fool. I think that was the exact quote that he wound up having, was you can't have players out here acting the fool. Roger Goodell came in and was like, hey, man, we got problems out here. I'm about to clean up these streets. And we cheered them on and put them on the cover of Time Magazine, all of that stuff. We were like, hey, man, we want you to crack down and make sure that everything is okay. I would think by extension that fans would want to have a legitimate measure of faith in what the investigations are that take place. There's no way that anybody reasonable could have any level of faith in an NFL investigation right now. I just don't see how it is that you could. But here we go. This thing is going to barrel on. This thing is going to continue. And you tell me if you feel like as more and more of this has gone on, that you feel like you know anything about what's really going on with Ezekiel Elliott. I don't. And at this moment, I find myself less curious about what is going on with Ezekiel Elliott than I am with what is going on with the NFL. Because this is all so cockamamie. All right, Shannon, here it is. This is what I was talking about from the 4 Star Telegram. Here's a quote. This is from Clarence Hill. More damning for the NFL is the prospect that the other doctor hired by the league lied about being unable to testify at last week's hearing. Per the transcript, Elliott's lawyers were told that Fanning could make. Per the transcript, the Elliott lawyers were told that Fanning couldn't make because he had a medical condition and was in the hospital. We have reason to believe that is false, Jeffrey Kessler told Henderson. So I'm going to submit to you the declaration of a private investigator, Mr. Scott Whitlock. Mr. Whitlock will, as you'll see in this declaration, testify that, in fact, Dr. Fanning was in her residence all day yesterday, and he went to her door and she answered, and that he stayed there all day, really into the night, and she never left the residence. What? Are you serious? Where's the doctor? She not here. Where is she? I told you. Not here. And she just at the house? You gotta at least go somewhere else, right? Like, if that's your scam, I'm sick right now. Go get you a doctor's note. Shouldn't a doctor be able to get a doctor's note?
I think so, right?
I would think that, like should a doctor not be able to get a doctor's note? Or is that I feel like within the crew, they ain't got no problem writing out doctor's notes to each other. Like, that's the league. Are y'all that far out of answers where it's like, hey, man, we just want to talk to this doctor. What doctor? The other doctor in the report. There's no other doctor in the report. The one right there. Oh, yeah. Hold on one second. Like, this reminds me of that time. Should I never tell you about that time I had to do that, boss? We had some back and forth. It wasn't really going well. He was trying to run a con on me, and I just kept asking questions because you can't call your boss a liar. All you can do is ask questions.
Right.
And so I kept asking questions, and at one point my man was like, yeah, hold on just 1 second, okay? 5 minutes later, bro, I'm still on hold.
Did a TV timeout.
Yeah,
he had to collect his thoughts.
Yeah. 5 minutes later, I'm still on hold. So I hang up, and I call my man back, and he's like, oh, sorry, the national office called. All he had was, hold on 1 second. That's basically what they should have done with the doctor. They'd have been like, yeah, we going to call her. Yeah, she on the way. Oh, yeah, no, actually, we just called her. I ain't even gonna lie to you, man. I called her, went straight to voicemail. I hope she ain't been in no car accident. In fact, hey, can somebody go out there and make sure that the doctor's not hurt? Yeah, just drive on 35 until you see her. What are we doing? Like in totality with the league here, what are we doing? Because the last thing the league needs to be doing if they're purporting themselves to be serious about these matters is make the story about them and not an alleged victim that they seem to be so certain has been assaulted, except for the fact that the only person that's actually talked to her doesn't feel that way. Yeah, great job, guys. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Give us a call. Coming up next, I got another point to make for you about Zeke Elliott and other things that happened in the state of Texas over the weekend. You're listening to ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Welcome back to the right time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Spencer Hall of SB Nation will join us next segment. Spencer Hall will join us at 4:30 Eastern in Tulsa College football. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. And hey, stop Straight Talk. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks. We don't need no stinking contracts. Anyway, I just thought about something with the NFL and the Zeke Elliott thing as it continues and we wait to find out what the resolution is. Shannon, Harry the Henderson said that he was hoping to have a decision today, but he couldn't be sure because of the sheer volume of the material, because apparently he didn't realize there was a lot of volume in the material.
I'm surprised that he himself was surprised by that. What did he expect he was getting into?
Hold on, can you imagine how tight it is being Harry the Henderson at the office right now? Right? I mean, you think about this for a second. He works there, right? It's not like, if I'm not mistaken, it's not as though he's down like in some other office and they brought him in. He works there, right? And so Harry the Henderson is now in this situation where you know damn well what your boss wants you to do. You know exactly what your boss wants you to do. What do you think it's like when Harry the Henderson is riding the elevator with Raj? What do you think Raj talks to him about?
Weather.
Yeah, so, Harry, anything going on? I mean, you know, times like these, no reason for anything to change. Right, Harry? All right, buddy, you have a great day. Something the NFL might want to consider, by the way. They like to do this thing to open the season where the Cowboys play generally. And don't they play the Giants a lot to begin the year? It hasn't been like 3-4, like the last 6 or something like that.
Almost book it now. It's an annual game where they'll start off Sunday night, Giants-Cowboys, yes.
Or the 4 o'clock game, right? Like the 4 o'clock Fox game. Either way it goes, you're getting Giants-Cowboys or Cowboys in some way. You are getting them as a game of the week in the first week of the season. The problem with this, if you're the NFL, is that the Dallas Cowboys are quickly becoming the Georgia Bulldogs of the NFL. And if you don't know what I mean by the Cowboys being the Georgia Bulldogs of the NFL, you should go ask Steve Spurrier what he used to say about playing Georgia early in the season, where you hope to play them early in the season because they got some guys suspended. And that seems to be what happens with the Cowboys. But see, there's another level of it, which is it's not just simply the guys are suspended, but if a dude that is famous like Ezekiel Elliott winds up being suspended, then that means that Al and Chris got to have some real awkward conversation about what it was that went down. And in this case, what are they supposed to do, Shannon, if he plays and this is just all in court limbo?
We got a real situation on our hands, right?
Yeah, well, don't forget this one. You remember when the Greg Hardy pictures came out, where Desmond had the pictures of the woman that Greg Hardy had allegedly assaulted? There was a Sunday night game that week. He was not suspended. Yo! Like, Raj has got to be like, hey, man, until y'all get y'all that together, man, we can't be putting y'all on the big screen. Like, something. Like, we have accepted the Cowboys.
Do you imagine ever flexing out a Cowboys game?
Right. Y'all too hot right now. Y'all too hot. We can't have this. Tune in for this titanic clash between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints. Y'all are blazing hot right now. We cannot have this. But Sunday night, it's coming. We're going to see it. Get off screen. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Switching gears to talk about football that was played in the state of Texas this weekend. All right, so guys, some of you know this about me. Not a lot of you know this about me. I don't do a lot of college, maybe just sports fan stuff anymore. I don't really do very much of it. Part of the reason is I have quit every team that I ever loved, right? Sometimes you got to look at it and just be like, this ain't worth the stress for me. I grew up loving the Braves. Then they became the keepers of the game, and I started hating them, so I got them out of there. And then they went to Cobb County, so to me, they don't even exist. Shannon, who was I used to root for? The Falcons. I got off that narcotic. Jumped off that sinking ship.
You really? I wonder what happened. Was it this Super Bowl loss this past year?
It's a combination of factors that really started snowballing. That was the beginning. That wasn't the whole thing. Yeah. But I still have Texas, right? I do Texas football. I grew up in Houston. I'm a big fan of Texas football. If you were wondering, gee, Bomani, what do you and Will Kane have in common? We both root for Texas football. Was that enough to make me stop rooting for Texas football? I thought about it. But then came the weekend. Texas playing Maryland. I was out early in the day when I met somebody for brunch, just kind of kicking it around, then come back. Texas, they playing at noon. All right, it's whatever. I checked the phone. The hell you mean they losing like 30-16 or something like that to Maryland, bro? Maryland at the crib, by the way. Playing Maryland at the crib. It was getting smoked by Maryland at the crib. And then I look in the box score, and I'm like, I can't figure out anything that's going on here. Guys, do you know how hard you have to work to score 3 non-offensive touchdowns in a football game and still lose? Do you know how hard you have to work to score 3 non-offensive touchdowns and still give up 50 points? Do you realize how hard you have to work to do that? Do you realize how hard you have to work to lose to a team that lost its quarterback, that didn't look like he should have been playing quarterback in the first place? He looked like a damn fullback. You know what it's like to lose, and then they bring in a child with a do-rag on with the straps coming out the back of the helmet? It's 2017. This dude's still out here rocking a do-rag, and y'all lost. Dude, things came out of me I could not believe. Like, things I didn't even know I had in me. Shannon, you can speak to this. You know me. I am fairly dispassionate about my sports. I enjoy them, but I'm not that guy.
Right, you're pretty calm when it comes to this thing.
I'm level. I'm rational. I know enough about college sports to know you can't win them all, right? I ain't never been sicker of this in my life than I am right now. I never have. I am so sick of this. This is year 8 of this nonsense, and it's still going on. Year 8. And y'all told me that if we hired this genius dude, right, that everything was going to wind up being okay. I told me if we hired this genius dude that everything was going to wind up being okay. The last coach said no matter who coaches here, this team should win 10 games. I knew enough about that roster to feel like that team should win 10 games. I got a first-round pick in all likelihood at left tackle. I watch him get worked like a turnstile by a dude who plays for Maryland. And it ain't even Dominique Foxworth, right? So I'm watching all this, and like every bit of, I did not know I had this in me. And then what made it worse, listen to this dude talking about, it ain't going to happen overnight. What you mean it's not going to happen overnight? Listen to this.
I told our guys to never get used to this feeling, but that, if we all thought that we were going to come in here and in 9 months sprinkle some fairy dust on this team and think that we've arrived, then we're wrong. And the only way we know how to fix things is to work harder.
What? No, Tom, you misunderstand. You were supposed to come in here and sprinkle some pixie dust on this. This was supposed to get fixed real. I seen your movies. You did it somewhere else before. Hey, man, you got smoked at home by Maryland. Overnight, you better be better than... I've never felt this way before in my life. Not once in my life have I ever felt this way. It is bad. It is bad. I am the impatient fan that I chastise you guys for being. But I'm also the petty fan that you guys really are. Texas A&M blew a 44-10 lead to UCLA. And all of a sudden, everything got better. Anybody talk to Roland Martin about that game yet, by the way? I've been trying to hit him up for days. He ain't had nothing to say. Roland, where you at? By the way, somebody, as I was trying to find Roland, said, I don't know who Ronald is, but this is really funny. Straight Talk Wireless. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next. So how good is Josh Rosen? We'll talk to Spencer Hall of SB Nation about that on ESPN Radio, ESPN app, and SiriusXM Channel 80. Welcome back to the right time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, just like our next guest. He covers college football for SB Nation. He's the best college football writer in America, if you want to be real about this. His name is Spencer Hall. Spencer, let's start with last night's game, right? We had Tennessee, we had Georgia Tech. Is there anything worse than when your favorite team loses or plays too close to a team running that damn option?
No, there's nothing worse. Like, the people who really lost in this game, I mean, Georgia Tech on paper lost. The defensive lineman for Tennessee lost because they got overtime. And 4 quarters of having Georgia Tech's linemen dive at your knees and try to cut block you every single play, that's bad. But when they went into overtime, they didn't get in position to win the game. Oh, man. Like, I guarantee you, when Tech did not finish that game off, Tennessee's linemen were like, losing this game wouldn't be the worst thing. It wouldn't be the worst. It's an out-of-conference game. They could have gotten out of that. Instead, they got extra down and extra, possessions with these dudes just leaping at their legs. So, yeah, it's the absolute worst. Like, if the mental frustration of how are they doing this with only 3 options and every play isn't enough, there's the physical stress of someone's trying to roll up on me every play.
Yeah, and it was going to be bad to be Butch Jones if they had lost that one. And I have to admit, since I have no tie to Tennessee, I was looking forward to it.
I don't think it's good to be Butch Jones anyway this year. And this goes after a 1-point win. I don't think anyone felt too great about it. And by the way, though, I will say this. Thanks, Butch. I got a garbage can on the sidelines, and I laughed about that a lot. Because when you look for something that's a symbol of your team and in order to rally them, I guarantee you on that list of things, the last thing I have is garbage can.
We're talking to Spencer Hall of SB Nation here on the right time. I'll tell you another level, though, of that game, and it was interesting hearing Reese Davis and Kirk Herbstreit going through their minds of, their favorite option quarterbacks. We haven't had, a really just fun wishbone-type quarterback because nobody really runs the wishbone like that. But that Marshall kid there, hey, man, that's throwback.
No, that's a serious throwback. He's missing one thing, though, because I think everyone had the same conversation during the game because I was talking with some people before. They even started talking about this on air. Nobody pitches way down the field anywhere, right? This used to be the thing. Colorado, if you go back and watch old, McCartney, Colorado era, Buffalo football, they'd pitch 20, 30 yards down the field. It wasn't a lateral. It was a design play. And it's been a while since we've had a quarterback who's that electric out of the option. And it's been a while since anyone's bothered to pitch, out of the backfield or even further than 2 or 3 yards downfield. That's a really thrilling style of ball if you do it right. I'm not saying Georgia Tech wasn't. They were really exciting last night. By the way, I think there's only 6 teams out of 150 who have lost despite gaining 500 yards rushing. And they did it. So congratulations, Georgia Tech. Your mathematicians figure out how you did that.
Well, there's also the irony, by the way, of Kirk Herbstreit saying that Marshall was reminding him of Charles Thompson, but it was the guys on the other side wearing penitentiary orange.
There is that. there is. I enjoy this, too. You know what the extra stink of getting beat up on by Georgia Tech is? They're nerds. They are. I got a graduate degree from Tech, and I was in the gimme math classes. They were not gimme math classes. They weren't. So it's not just like those dudes are beating you up straight up. They're beating you up, and they're also embarrassing you in the classroom. And, you can call them big old nerds. Big old nerds had 500 yards rushing on you. That's got to burn.
When I went to college in Atlanta, I went to one party at Georgia Tech, and we realized very quickly why we had never gone to party at Georgia Tech. Bunch of dudes, man. Nothing but a bunch of dudes.
But what? You don't like a LAN party? You don't like playing multiplayer video games for, a good 12, 14 hours straight? I mean, don't knock it till you try it. It's not the worst thing in the world.
We are talking to Spencer Hall of SB Nation here on the right time. So, Texas A&M, UCLA. Are you surprised that Kevin Sumlin still has a job?
A little bit, yeah. Considering how things have been in the state of Texas, I sort of think that maybe he wouldn't have a job if things were going real well at UT. Because I don't think anything at UT or Texas A&M happens independently. I think it's all the weather. It's the context between the two. Texas had a real bad weekend, and they're going to struggle this year. So I think A&M's probably telling of a little bit of struggle, too, because nobody is showing them up. Nobody in the whole state showed them up. I think the only school to really sort of move weight and carry their own over the weekend was Texas Tech. Texas Tech actually beat a pretty good Eastern Washington team. I know it's an FCS team, but let's consider this. Texas Tech was the most dependable thing in Texas football this weekend. That's how bad it was.
Now, you said Texas is going to struggle this year. This is interesting because this is not supposed to be a struggle year. Like, coaching change notwithstanding, this is not supposed to be a struggle year. So if people, miscalculated what the roster was, or is Herman not the magician that we were sold that he was?
I think the situation there is probably worse than people think it was. I don't know too many coaches who are magicians like that. I know some who are definitely not magicians. One has a job in Gainesville right now. Like Jim McElroy is the opposite of that. Because if you're going into year 3 as an offensive guru and you're putting up Boston College numbers with SEC talent, then we got to talk. But yeah, I don't think Tom Herman is a magician. I don't know too many coaches who are. They got to change a lot of things. And by the way, like, those things don't change just in the off season. You got to go through a full season and sort of figure out how they're going to work. I still think Texas, once they figure a couple things out, like quarterback position, et cetera, I think at the end of the year, they'll be a lot better. But right now, it will and could be pretty ugly. By the way, let's give Maryland a little bit of credit.
No.
Just a little bit.
No.
No? None?
No.
None?
No.
Okay. You want to just make fun of A&M? We could do that.
Yeah. Here's the grounds. Hold on, let me tell you my grounds making fun of A&M, and you tell me what you think about this. It was what happens when an 8-win program has a bunch of people around it who don't realize that they are an 8-win program.
I think there's this, too. I don't think they realize how lucky they got. They got extremely lucky and then entered the toughest or one of the toughest divisions in college football and expected things to change. I think there's actually something to this argument that they're an 8-win program in the SEC West, and that's a lot better than they think it is, because I think that means something more than being an 8-win program where they were in the Big 12. Right? I think the competition is tougher. I think it is a steeper hill. And I think Kevin Sumlin probably deserves a little bit of credit for keeping it that steady, given the hill that they had to climb. But it's not going to measure up. And by the way, the booster who came out and said that he was done with Sumlin, right, on Facebook, right, which just goes to show you, never go on Facebook. Kevin Sumlin doesn't go on Facebook. He doesn't see that his life's better. Don't ever go on Facebook, anyone, for any reason. But Busby, the guy who did that lawyer, he has an office door that has, like, shark handles. Like they're shaped like shark handles. Do you want to be a more cartoon Texas football booster? Do that. He's like a former Marine infantry officer. There's a cutthroat lawyer in Houston. I want nothing to do with you, dude. If you want someone gone, I'm not standing in your way. I know better than that.
But the best testament, by the way, to Texas A&M being an 8-win program is that they were an 8-win program in the Big 12, and then they got better players and moved to the SEC, and they had that one good year, and then you know what they were after that?
8 win program.
8 wins. Put them anywhere, man. We put them in the whack. They'll win 8 games. But, hey, that is Spencer Hall. Check him out, sbnation.com, edsbs.com, covering college football. Thanks so much, my man. I appreciate it.
Hey, did you know Texas A&M blew like a 41-10 lead? So I might leave with that.
It made my weekend so much better. Thank you for making me feel good. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. More independent agents sell Progressive than any other brand. Find an agent at Progressive.com. Now that's Progressive. Welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to Spencer Hall of SBNation.com for joining us the last segment. Darren Woodson will join us in the 5 o'clock Eastern hour. Remember, if you miss anything live, check out the Right Time podcast available on the ESPN app. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. So last night I'm watching the Tennessee-Georgia Tech game, but I'm not really paying much attention. They keep calling the quarterback Dormady, right? Is his name Dormady? Okay, no big deal. And so, during the game, I do like y'all do very often, where I decide that I'm going to just kind of, go through the box scores, see what's going on. And the quarterback name for Tennessee, it was Q Dormady. And I'm like, Q. I wonder what Q stands for. And then I look, and it's Quentin. Quinten, Quentin. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. I'm a little confused, Shannon. That looks like quite the pro-style quarterback that they've got there.
That's what I thought. He sat back there in the pocket and threw the ball, right?
That's right. Went through his reads, and then they took that helmet off, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's Quentin from Burn, Texas. That's him, like right there. Although, Shannon, it did appear that he got his beard shaved up with the rest of the Quentins.
Real sharp.
Yeah. Then I find out that Pittsburgh just suspended a linebacker named Quentin Wirginis. I don't know how you pronounce it, Wirginis. And then I'm like, hey, that last name looks a little uncommon. Let me Google it up. Shannon, 2 white Quentins.
In the same weekend?
2 white Quentins. And then, by the way, I said a tweet about it that said apparently Quentin has been gentrified. And then the reporter who had that story, because the dude got suspended, said, well, he got suspended, so maybe it hasn't. And I'm like, see, there you go, taking the joke too far.
Oh, come on, man.
There you go, taking the joke too far. There you go. But now, white Quentin is in effect. We got white Quentin. We also, Shannon, had a Debo that played for South Carolina.
I saw that. I was watching the game against NC State, and I saw the description of his name, and it was Debo. I'm like, what?
Hey, we just calling him Debo. Just calling him Debo. Really? I'm like, first of all, how old do we feel now that we just got Debos that's out here and that you can just tell your coach, hey, man, they call me Debo. But can you be Debo if you're a running back? Or like an offensive player? Can you be Debo if you're an offensive player? I feel like Debo has to be a defender.
Well, it depends on what the type of running back that you are. If you're an elusive back, then no, you can't be Debo. But if you're the type that like the truck folks, then you're absolutely a Debo.
Fournette could be Debo, right? But like in the NFL, who's the one guy we think of when we think of Debo? James Harrison. I feel like you need to be a James Harrison type if you're really going to be out here going by Debo. Like, they might call you Debo back at your crib. You might be Debo back on the block. But up here, you're going to have to take it to a whole new level if you're going to be Debo. But white Quentin, hey, man, if we got white Quentin, I guess you could be Debo if you want, right? Ain't no barriers.
And yes, Tyshawn Samuel is his name, and he was, in fact, given the name Debo after Debo from Friday.
I mean, why else would they call him Debo? Had you met a Debo before Friday? Had you? I hadn't.
It's funny, I do know a Debo, but he is nothing like the Debo from Friday, which is interesting.
I did go to high school with a Debo. You ain't want no beef with her. Right Time's brought to you by Upside. Now save big on travel and get a big gift card every trip you buy. You'll love Upside.com, Upside.com. Speaking of getting Debo'd, man, DeAndre Francois, man, it has been a rough year in game. I guess it's year in game for him. He tore a patella tendon. He'll be out for the year. But he is, I mean, last year, if you watched, he was just getting waylaid left and right. Like Florida State didn't have the line taken care of. If you watched that game against Alabama, he was getting waylaid left and right. Now he's out for the year. I watched Josh Rosen in that Texas A&M game, and before it all turned around, he was just getting waylaid, right? Standing in there and just taking all these shots. And, man, it's a lot more uncomfortable watching that stuff in college than it is in the pros, but it's just kind of generally uncomfortable. Like, I was thinking I was watching all these college football games. We got all this HD. We got all this ability to zoom in. Hey, man, I would appreciate it if all the broadcasters of the football games, this network and everybody else, I really don't need y'all to zoom in when the dude is writhing on the ground. You're not helping. Like, if you want to make this game watchable, okay, he's on the ground. I know that. I'm not about to learn anything else from him laying on the ground. I'm not going to learn nothing about a prayer. No. I don't need to watch that. But, like, when I was watching those two guys back there and they doing this NFL stuff you're supposed to do and drop back and all the toughness, the stand in there and everything else, and I'm like, man, these dudes are doing this for free. Like, looking at those shots those cats were taking, you're taking them shots for free. And we just don't really like, oh, wow, he's really tough. Oh, wow, look at him take that shot. Oh, wow. Yo, man, first of all, this is how quarterbacks get ruined. Like with Francois, like how much does getting waylaid like this affect the trajectory of his career? So if Jameis Winston played behind these same lines that they're playing behind, how do you think it goes? Like freshman Jameis behind that line, how does he go? You think Jameis winds up being the number 1 overall pick? Because I don't think he winds up being the number 1 overall pick. You think Josh Rosen's really going to be able to pull that off playing behind that line that he's playing behind at UCLA? You think so? So I watched that, and I was just like, oh, no, this does not make me feel comfortable. And I don't even want to laud them for their toughness because that obscures the fact that these dudes out here taking kidney shots for the low. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a no-no. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, find out how bad the starting quarterback situation is in the NFL for opening week.
Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
Welcome to the right time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. NFL action. I guess the season starts on Thursday. I think I'm excited. Doesn't feel the same. I don't know if I'm the only person that feels this way, but it doesn't really feel the same. Like, yeah, I'm sure Thursday's going to come and everybody's going to, we're going to do all our big pomp and circumstance and everything else, and woohoo, football's back. We're going to do that whole thing. But I don't feel it like I had in previous years. Like, I didn't feel this summer like, man, I sure wish football would come back. And I've been out here trying to scrape and put together summer radio topics when I came to work. Every now and then. All right, like it's not, it isn't like palpable to me in that way. But the season is here. And guys, here are some of the people that it appears will be starting NFL games. Scott Tolzien will be starting an NFL game. Blake Bortles will be starting an NFL game. Tom Savage will be starting an NFL game. For a second, we thought that the Peterman was going to be starting the game for Buffalo, but Tyrod Taylor he'll be all right. And Josh McCown will be starting an NFL game this weekend.
He leads that 3 deep there with the Jets.
Tell the people who's number 2 on the depth chart.
Bryce Petty, followed by Christian Hackenberg.
I got a serious question. Why didn't they bring back Geno? Like, for real. They might as well assign Geno to a 1-year contract. Todd Bowles. Imagine being Todd Bowles. Just trying to fight for my job. That's all. That's not even fighting for your job with one hand tied behind your back. That's fighting for your job with one hand tied behind your back and 3 fingers cut off the other hand. Like, I don't know what it is that he is supposed to do. But, guys, we got some bad NFL quarterbacks. Bad. There's no other way to look at it. We got some bad ones. Some of those, as you convince yourselves are good, Kirk Cousins, are going to wind up looking bad when the season goes. Like, we just got some bad quarterbacks out here. So let's stop and take a moment to appreciate how backwards the NFL is and how we just let them slide for being so backwards. Why do I say that the NFL is so backwards? Here's what's backwards to me. Back in the day, football was based around the run game. Right? Like, that's what it was. You built it around the running back. Like, I think you're going to wind up having a real line of demarcation between people in terms of what era of football fans they are. People who grew up in running back center football versus people who grew up with quarterback center football. There's kind of a space in between where you have a little bit of both. But, like, when you're a kid, when you're younger, you want to run outside and be like the running backs, right? Like, nobody's back there like, actually, I want to sit back here and process all this information and throw a 5-yard slant. No, the running back was like the player that people wanted to be. That was what the centerpiece of the game was. And so what you had was running the ball. Now, there's a certain level of inefficiency, obviously, that comes with running the ball. And, of course, people enjoy it a lot that people throw the ball. So since people enjoy watching the passing game, what we've seen in the leagues and everywhere else is making it as conducive as possible for teams to pass the ball. The NFL made it a whole lot easier for quarterbacks and for receivers gradually over the course of the last 30-some-odd years, right? People like points. People like offense, so we gave them more, and the way to give them more is through passing. That's how you do it. Small problem. Let me ask you a serious question here. If it were that easy to find somebody capable of passing in the NFL, don't you think they would have started passing like that back in the day? Like, you think those guys are stupid? You think they can't tell that it's easier to pick up yards passing, right? There's a reason why they run on the first 2 downs, and then on 3rd and 11 or whatever it is, now we got to pass the ball. Why? Because they know you're far more likely to get 11 yards passing the ball than you are to get 11 yards running the ball. Everybody gets that. You know what the problem probably was back in the day and why it is they didn't do more passing? It wasn't simply that the rules made it harder for receivers to get downfield or anything. No. There aren't that many people who are capable of doing that. There just aren't. So you go look at the NFL right now, and you go look at some of the scrubs that people are going to be throwing out here playing quarterback in the NFL this year. Just think about that. The Jets got a depth chart with nothing but scrubs. Miami had to go and get Jay Cutler off the scrap heap, and they were happy about it. The jury is still out on Tyrod Taylor, certainly, but they was about to start the Peterman, and the nicest thing that you could say about the Peterman during the draft process was he's this year's Tom Savage, who, by the way, will be starting in the NFL. Deshaun Kaiser, Shannon, we don't really know about him, but who's behind him? Cody Kessler?
The fact that he's a rookie, a non-first-round quarterback starting day one.
Bengals got Andy Dalton, and they're like, whoo, glad we got him. Scott Tolzien ain't going to start a game. We already talked about that one. The Broncos, we'll get more into them a little bit later, but they're going to be starting out there with Trevor Siemian. Like, you go up and down. There are so many guys who are incapable of playing quarterback at the NFL level. If quarterback is the most important position in the NFL, and you can barely, it seems, fill out half the teams in the league with people capable of playing the position, is that not a sign of a league that is structured incorrectly? Right? Like, has anybody stopped to think about the fact that it should not be this hard to find anybody capable of playing any position that matters in the NFL? It should not be that hard. If it is that hard for you to find somebody that is capable of playing quarterback, then our game is busted. Why? Because it shouldn't be that hard to find somebody whose job it is to touch the ball on every possession. It just shouldn't. We can go up and down this league, go up and down these lists and call out all these names. Rarely do we stop to take a moment to ask ourselves, how in the world did we wind up in this situation? Right? So they can blame it on, well, these guys aren't getting prepared enough in college or everything else. No. We've had problems for a very, very long time with teams simply being unable to find players who are capable of being NFL quarterbacks. We've been going through this for the longest. Not once have we stopped to ask ourselves, guys, doesn't it appear that we have a foundational problem with the National Football League, and maybe they need to start working on ways to create a game that makes it possible for somebody to actually play quarterback? Maybe, just maybe. Is there any other position in sports where you know if one guy goes down, you can't find another person just to hold it down? Like, I'm not talking about finding somebody to come off the oak and excel or perform at the same level as the person before them. I'm talking about just somebody to come in and hold down the fort. How many teams in the NFL have quarterbacks that you feel like they can legitimately trust to hold down the fort? Shannon, I'm going to say one. New England.
Just the benefit of the doubt with New England?
No, because I saw the dude hold down the fort last year. Garoppolo. I saw, but who else? You think about this. Who else has a quarterback? I guess the Dolphins might kind of feel that way about Matt Moore, but that says more about how Matt Moore is not that much worse than Ryan Tannehill than it says about the goodness of Matt Moore. How many teams have a guy on the oak where they feel like, all right, well, at least this dude could come in and hold it down for a little bit? Who's got it? Nobody but the Patriots, at least as far as I can tell. Although I guess Shannon, Dallas had it last year, when Tony Romo came back healthy.
How that works. The one guy I would say.
Maybe the Giants.
With who? With Geno?
Let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you this. Because, no, I don't really think that. But go up and down the league. How many backup quarterbacks would you rather have over Geno?
Ooh. Oh, boy. Maybe, aside from Garoppolo, as we mentioned, Garoppolo, maybe Derek Anderson. Maybe. But he can give me 4 games. I can't go an entire season with him filling in, but maybe a game or two.
When was that? What was that game where Cam didn't play in the beginning and then Derek Anderson came out there and threw an interception the second he walked out there on the field? When's the last time you really saw Derek Anderson play for real? You're just guessing that maybe Derek Anderson can hold it down based on his success in 2007. That was 2007. That's how long ago that was. No, nobody feels like they can trust the next dude down the depth chart. How many cats are backup quarterbacks now just because they play college ball local? I was having this discussion on Twitter about Jim Harbaugh, the notion of quarterback whisperer, and how I think it's a bit overstated. And they're like, yeah, but he got Jake Rudock to the NFL, right? Jake Rudock is the backup quarterback for the Lions behind Matthew Stafford, and this dude played at Michigan. You see what I mean? How many years did DJ Shockley make it as the backup quarterback for the Falcons? And he's from Atlanta. Right? That's where it is. Why? Because there's so few dudes to do it that you might as well pat some dudes on the back or make some people happy about signing a local. How do you have a game where there's so few players who can play the most important position? Football, hustling backwards from its inception. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Give us a call. Coming up next, we are going to talk about Brock Osweiler. Wait till you hear what he said about where signing back with the Broncos ranks in his life. You're listening to ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Darren Woodson of ESPN will join us next segment. Darren Woodson will join us at 5:30 Eastern. Nothing makes up for your football obsession like a surprise from 1-800-Flyers.com. When you order a dozen multicolored roses for $29.99, you get an extra bouquet for free. Go to 1-800-Flyers.com/ESPN. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. I was just talking about the state of quarterback in the NFL. Not enough teams, not enough quarterbacks to fill out all the starters, and you damn sure know that means there ain't enough backups that you could even trust to come in and hold it down. Or maybe you disagree. Let's hit the phone talk to Garrett in Philly. Garrett, thanks for calling The Right Time.
Yo, Bomani Jones, what's up, bro?
Yo,
you're sounding like John Madden with this backup quarterback situation. Dude, no other position in sports has a greater spotlight than a backup quarterback or a quarterback. Nobody's talking about the shooting guard that gets injured and comes in. Nobody's talking about the catcher that comes in. There's no greater spotlight in sports than the backup quarterback. You guys don't get enough reps.
Garrett, what the hell are you talking about, man?
Now, listen to me, boss. Nobody gets enough reps. They don't get enough reps. They're sitting there on the sideline in practice. They're not in the game. We're going to talk about the backup quarterback? Come on, man.
What are you, dude? Do you even know what I was talking about? Like, what is this? I don't even know your point. Your point is that they don't get enough reps and they need more respect? Oh, Garrett's already gone. Did anybody have any idea what Garrett's talking about? Anyway, Kurt in Virginia, thanks for calling The Right Time.
Idea what he was talking about, but I have one other comment. There are some other backups out there that could step in. There's not just one. I think you were shooting from your hip a little bit. I can name a few. Driving in the car, thinking of one. A.J. McCarron.
Whoa.
A.J. McCarron.
Whoa. Hold on. I watched A.J. McCarron play quarterback when Andy Dalton got hurt that year, and I didn't feel like he was really bringing the thunder and rain. Like the best he could hold it down was having an incredibly talented defense on the other side. You really feel like, okay, A.J. McCarron. I mean, I feel like him holding it down again says more about Andy Dalton than it says about A.J. McCarron.
Well, he's one of those guys that people didn't want to trade because they wanted him to step in case something went wrong with Andy Dalton. So he was a guy that they wouldn't give up, right?
But that ties into my overall point that there aren't that many good quarterbacks in the league.
I agree that there aren't that many good ones, but there are some backups that could step in.
Who else?
Well, if you go to Chicago, you'd probably say at this point, Glennon's going to be a backup, if not the starter. He would step in at some point.
Have you seen Mike Glennon play football before?
Yeah, he's not that great, but he'll step in and win you a few games here and there.
Or then how come he never did it before?
But somebody signed him for $16 million,
right? Yeah. But how come he didn't do it before?
I'm just saying that's why somebody else.
I know.
I
feel like you accused me of shooting from the hip and then got on here and all you did was shoot from the hip. Is that fair?
No, I'm giving you facts, right? A.J. McCarron wouldn't be traded for first-round draft pick.
You think A.J. McCarron be traded for a first round?
Yeah,
you think he would be? Hold on.
Hold
on. You think if A.J. McCarron could be traded for a first round draft pick that he would still be playing for Cincinnati?
Yeah. They actually offered that. A few teams offered that.
Who's they? 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Now, Brock Osweiler, Shannon, that's a backup quarterback. You think he can stand in and hold it down?
He can stand there. He's tall.
He is tall.
That's about all he can do.
He is tall. Here is how happy Brock Osweiler is to be back with the Broncos.
It's hard to really describe it in words, but being back here today, practicing as a Bronco, being here at Dove Valley, it's probably a top 5, if not 3 day of my life. Today's been incredible.
Shannon, does that sound like somebody they told, hey, man, you need to get your attitude in check and we're going to get you another job one day? Play that one more time for me, please. I need to make sure I heard that right.
It's hard to really describe it in words, but being back here today, practicing as a Bronco, being here at Dove Valley, it's probably a top 5, if not 3 day of my life. Today's been incredible.
All right, what are the other two? What are the other two? Shannon, isn't he married?
Believe so, yes.
Wasn't he on the team that won a Super Bowl?
I believe so, yes, he was.
Did he not once pull off a caper, a heist, where he stole like $36 million?
Yes, that is correct.
Isn't even more than, isn't next year's money guaranteed too? So how in the world is you tell me how this is better than the day he stole all that money. There's no way this is better than the day he stole all that money. I don't know nothing about him and his woman, so that could be its own thing. But there's no way this is better than the day that he stole all that money. Shannon, can you imagine how good it would feel to steal $36 million?
I was going to use the term relieved, but no, I would just be excited, like overwhelmed, over the moon. $36 million, and I'm good? We're good here? Okay, cool.
And I have no business making it, right? Like, that's the best part. He has to look at himself in the mirror every day and be like, yo, me, 36.
Look, I'm about to start calling Brock Osweiler Brewster.
He just came up, right? Like, he hit him, put the money in the bag. That's all that is. Put the money in the bag. By the way, you know that John Elway's son went to Arizona State when Brock Osweiler was at Arizona State. And Brock Osweiler is good friends with John Elway's son. In case you were wondering how it is that he winds up turning back up in Denver. By the way, Shannon, that's a team with a win-now defense and all kinds of questions at quarterback. And they are like, why would we sign the best quarterback available on the market? Why would we do that? That would be silly.
How would we do that? And we got Trevor Siemian.
Serious question. I'm not even joking. If Kaepernick plays for the Broncos, does that make them a legitimate Super Bowl contender with the defense they have? Right? Like, this isn't the defense that won the Super Bowl. No, they're not as good as they were then. But with a quarterback that's like a legitimate NFL quarterback, where we don't question the legitimacy of him being a quarterback, right? A dude that managed to play as he did while playing on that awful 49ers team. Could you make a legitimate argument that the Broncos are a contender for the AFC if he's there? Because think about this. The argument against Kaepernick that people very often make is the idea that, well, he was surrounded by so much talent in San Francisco, and the talent was really on defense that they were talking about. But there was so much talent on defense. Well, Shannon, doesn't this look a lot like the same situation as that? Like the talent on defense? Doesn't that sound kind of?
It sounds vaguely familiar.
And, by the way, an offensive coordinator there in Denver that somehow found a way to win 8 games with Tim Tebow as their starting quarterback. I feel like he could come up with something for Kaepernick if he could come up with something for a dude who can't throw the ball. Tim Tebow was back there throwing the ball left-handed, and I'm like, so are you left-handed? Or is this just something you do? Like my daddy calls himself ambidextrous. He does all these things with his right hand, but he writes with his left. And you know what it looks like when my daddy writes with his left hand? It looks like a right-handed person writing with his left hand. He's just as ambidextrous as he claims to be because he pays the rent. But that's how I felt like watching Tebow. But no, man, you guys are not going to sell me on the quality of these backup quarterbacks because I'm telling you, given how many scrubs there are playing quarterback in the league right now, if teams really thought these backups were good like that, they wouldn't be backups anymore. They simply would not be. Why? Because a quarterback is that damn important. People ain't just going to let one lay around, get dusty on the shelf. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Coming up next, how worried should the Cowboys be about what's going on with Zeke Elliott? We'll talk to Darren Woodson about that next on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. Welcome back to the right time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Our guest joined us on the Shell Pinto Performance Line, just like our next guest, man. Got 3 Super Bowl rings, works for us here at ESPN. His name is Darren Woodson. Darren, do you have any guess as to what you expect to happen with everything going on with Zeke Elliott today?
No, and if I told you that I knew or had a good feel for what was going on, I'd be lying. Because right now we are clueless, and we're sitting around. I'm sitting here over next to Dan Graziano, who knows the ins and outs, a lot like Adam Schefter, exactly what's going on, and we're clueless to knowing what's happening. And you know, hey, rightfully so. This has been a process that has been an investigation that has taken place for the last year, and you know, and no one knows what's going to happen. And you know, hopefully it comes down soon so we can move on and start talking football.
Now, there are two levels to this, though, for the Cowboys and Zeke. One is specifically what happened with the incident that seems to be driving much of the suspension. The rest, though, is the other stuff that's in the report and him just kind of behaving recklessly generally. So for the Cowboys, what do you do when you have a star player that's in that situation that you need to figure out how to get to calm down?
Well, similar to what they did, Bomani, when they had Dez Bryant. When Dez Bryant came out years back and was having off-the-field problems, whether it be with family problems or in the clubs, they had to sit down with him. And the guy that had to sit down with him was Jerry Jones himself. And basically told him it's time to grow up, it's time to be a professional, put people in place, and surrounded him with positive people and some security guards. So when Dez went out to certain places, there were, security guys that were there. Now, Dez grew out of that just through time, through maturity. He matured through the process. I think we're looking at the same thing with Zeke. I think the issue with Zeke is that for the longest, since high school and college, he's been pampered in a way where even his father moved out to Columbus to stay with him when he was in college because he felt like he was immature and wasn't ready for that life. And now I think a couple of that with being a top first-round pick, going to Dallas, and he's by himself, no family members there. He's just by himself, and he's going out. The guy's a rock star. Bomani, let's call it what it is. In Dallas, we know that they love their football. It's a football city, a football state to go along with that, and they follow him around and with a lot of phones and some of the things he's done has been out of character, man. And this is the punishment that comes along with it. But I think that the whole sit down needs to be, it's time to become professional. You can be a superstar and have all the superstar talent, but to coincide with being a superstar, that means you need to handle yourself the right way off the field, and that's the conversation that I'm sure they've already have, and they will continue to have with him.
All right, we're talking to Darren Woodson here on The Right Time. Now, for you, when you played for the Cowboys, did you have any moment that you realized, oh, man, this is a lot more light than I ever thought was possible?
Yeah, when I came out of college, honestly, my first day, I get drafted. They fly us out there for a press conference, and I'm in Dallas, and they drive us up to back then it was called the Valley Ranch. It was the practice facility, and there were hundreds of people out front trying to just get a look at us, look at the draft choices that were on the bus coming in. And that's when it hit me to think, I come from Arizona State. I didn't think it was, hey, I love football, but I didn't know the fans. There wasn't a frenzy of fans that followed us around. But in Dallas, that's what they do. It's all about the star. It's all about that team. And not only that, the one thing that saved us, Bomani, and I'm going to tell you, me and you, I could be honest with you. In the 90s, our team was as wild as it came, and you know this. A lot of partying, a lot of guys were out, and we had some different personalities on that football team. If phones were around, if there was a such thing as social media in the 90s, half our players wouldn't be able to play. And I'm just being honest. I mean, the team was that wild. I think the one thing that saved us was that there wasn't a cell phone to take pictures of a lot of the guys that probably would have been in trouble. But nowadays, I mean, everything he does, and it's not just Zeke, it's Dak, it's a lot of the guys that are on that football team, they get followed around, and cameras are a part of it. You just got to handle yourself the right way, and you just have to grow up, mature through the process.
All right, talking to Darren Woodson of ESPN here on The Right Time. Now, switching to the football part of it, you mentioned Dak Prescott. What do you expect from him this year? Because one thing we do often see from guys that have those great rookie seasons is a bit of second-year regression because the guys are then asked to do more.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to have the sophomore slump. I think this team is going to have its ups and downs based on the schedule. I think the schedule is a much tougher schedule this year playing the AFC West. I think the NFC East has gotten better at the same time. I think Philadelphia will be a better team. I just think right now, if you look at this football team, they have to find a way defensively to get pressure up front and on the back end. It can create some turnovers, but I think Dak shines this year. I think he has a better year passing the ball in his second year. I think he'll drive the ball downfield. I think Dez will become a bigger part of the game plan instead of just Cole Beasley in the short game. And he's spectacular in a 2-minute situation because he has the athleticism to get outside, get that first down with his legs, and he's a true leader. And that's the key to me is this entire offseason. You talk to the offensive linemen, you talk to the defensive guys, his wide receivers. They talk about how young this guy is, but how great of a leader he is on the football field. So I think you see a jump in his play this year. I think the big issue that they're going to have offensively is if you don't have Zeke, You're missing out on a home run hitter. You're missing out on a guy that can take a screenplay 70 like he did against the Steelers last year. You're missing that home run hitter, so teams are going to load up on the wide receivers and doubling those guys instead of having to worry about the run as much as they had in the past.
All right, Dr. Darren Woodson of ESPN here on The Right Time. Now, you mentioned the NFC East. The Giants wind up being a bit of an interesting case there, but Washington now, I think, with what's happening with Sua Cravens, has become a whole new story. Like, did you ever have a time where you just came up, like even young or older, where it's just like, yo, I just don't think I can do this anymore?
Nope. No, man. I mean, look, I understand every 2 weeks, they send a check. And actually, you can go pick it up if you want to, or they can direct deposit it. But I knew, listen, I came up in a situation where I loved the game. I played the game at the highest levels, and this is what I wanted to do. I knew I was never going to be a doctor or a lawyer or a pilot or whatnot. I played the game of football, and that was my livelihood. So that's all I thought about. And not only did I love the game, but there was a business side of it that I totally understood. And I think that, you get guys like, Craven who, basically it's just not in him. And there's nothing you can do to convince him, whether it be money, whether it be the limelight. If it's not in you to put that helmet on and play in a style of physical play, especially at the linebacker position, if you don't have it in you, no one's going to be able to talk you into playing. I don't care who it is. It's just got to be from the heart. And I don't know if, if you give him time, he may come around at some point, but do you want a guy that's 50-50? And that's going to be the question mark for the Redskins. Is he all the way in if he comes back to play this game?
Well, I was just about to ask you, how would you respond to a guy after he came back under those circumstances?
I would question his heart and his motivation and what he wants to do. And I've seen it now. I playing with the Cowboys, I've seen guys at training camp walk away from it and then come back. Cole Beasley, wide receiver with the Cowboys, slot receiver. Spectacular at what he does, but there was a point early in his first or second year where he walked away. He didn't think this was the game for him. And then had a change of heart and came back. And they asked him to come back, and he came back. And, now we're seeing what he's doing as a football player. But, people still question his heart and his toughness through the process. It just took time. It took 2 to 3 years for people to finally say, okay, he's all the way bought in. And I think it's going to be the same thing with Craven is, you're playing in one of the more physical, demanding positions at the linebacker position. If you got to be, what my mom used to say, son, you're half-ass crazy. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm half-ass crazy to tackle a 240-pound back, but it's in me. And if it's in you, then you're going to max it out. If you're not, then it's time to go do something else.
All right, that is Darren Woodson. Check him out on ESPN, man. The season's back. Good to have you, man.
Yeah, you too now. Have a good one, Bomani.
You too, man. Get his gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program at fuelrewards.com/go. Welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to Darren Woodson of ESPN for joining us the last segment. We kind of waiting out to figure out what's going to happen with this Zeke Elliott thing. Shattered is 5:48 Eastern. Isn't there a court hearing tonight? Like in 12 minutes?
That's supposed to be, yes.
And wasn't Harry the Henderson supposed to let us know something?
Soon, by the end of business day. We're getting close to it now, aren't we?
I mean, I thought the business day was already over. Right? If their business day is going until 6, they're working hard at the league. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. We were talking a little bit earlier about backup quarterbacks. And I say this whole league is busted if you wind up in a situation where there are 32 starting quarterback jobs, there are 96 quarterback jobs just in general. And how many people can actually play it? Oh, damn, caller went away. I just told you all that for nothing. But anyway, Shannon, people seem really high on A.J. McCarron. Do you understand why that is? A.J. McCarron wasn't even good in college.
See, I think that people are still thinking of the A.J. McCarron who won, 2 national titles at Alabama?
I think he was on the team, yeah.
He was a starting quarterback at 2 national title teams. So people are holding that in higher regard than they should have when it comes to his NFL abilities.
What is the greatest memory that you have of A.J. McCarron in college? What do you remember more than anything else?
His wife.
Thanks. There it is, right there. That was a big game, too. Right? Like, what is A.J. McCarron? A.J. McCarron's big game moment is marrying her. right? Because I was sure that after the Sharks, after Brent Musburger went over the top about it, and then LeBron hit her with the follow, the Sharks was out. I was like, oh, young fella, I don't know how this is going to work out for you. He made it to the other side. That is, I think, harder work than anybody gives it credit for being, right? Because I had a cat that was telling me about one of his partners, and he found out once that his woman was dating a very famous shoe endorser. Right? And it was like, look, no matter what you do, he said to playing on the tarmac, she about to be on the tarmac. And that's how I thought it was going to end for A.J. McCarron, right? Like, that's, Shay, you remember that story about Michael Jordan when that dude was taking that woman on a date, and then Michael Jordan, and he rolled up and Michael Jordan was with her, and then she came back like 3 days later?
Do remember that, yeah.
That's what I thought life was going to be like for A.J. McCarron. So who knows, man? In fact, Shane, I feel like A.J. McCarron, if this is like this, A.J. McCarron should not be their backup quarterback. He should be the free safety. It's like, ain't nobody getting behind me. Nope. Sideline to sideline. I got this whole thing under control. Everything. Anyway, switching gears. Magic Johnson, you know the Lakers got caught up in a little tampering situation, right? So the Lakers got fined $500,000. Here's what Magic Johnson told Jeannie Buss. Quote, "It's under my watch. I apologized to Jeannie, and that was the main thing. I told her she could take it out of my salary because I don't want the Lakers to be paying that fine. I don't want her spending $500,000 because she didn't do anything. That's on me." How rich do you have to be to say something like that? Like, how many other general managers or president of basketball operations, whatever the title is, how many other cats are going to be like, nah, don't worry, I got this, right? I'm sure a lot of them on principle would like to be able to walk in and be like, no, buck stops here. Except they ain't got that kind of bread. Magic is like, hey, EJ, yeah, look at the console, yeah, you see that right there? Hey, man, snatch that $500,000 I got laying in the car and bring it over here to the office. Boy, don't ask me no questions. Just bring me my money. I wonder that. Like, when cats be like, yo, I'll just pay him the $500,000. Like, how long do you think it takes Magic to come up with $500,000? Because I feel like if you needed me to come up with $500,000, I might be able to, but it's going to take a couple days.
I was going to ask you, if you're another executive and you decided that, hey, I'm going to pay this, like, how many payment plans? Like, do you get a 30-year loan on this thing? How does it work? Do you get interest?
I also feel like the other cats in the office, like, hey, Magic, I feel like you are establishing the wrong principle here on this whole we going to pay our own fine sort of thing. Like, I ain't got the money, right? There's somebody in that office going to do something worth $500,000. It ain't no genie, but like, look, Magic, I ain't got no $500,000. I can't, I don't know. It can't be that. And the thing with Magic, too, I imagine Magic richer than Genie, right? Because remember, all their money is all the Lakers. They don't really have, I think they got some real estate, but like the Lakers are where they make all their money. Magic's so rich.
Magic's so rich that he can literally eat a $500,000 fine. Like, nah, yes. I'm good. I got it.
Yes, which then takes to the next question. What car would you have to drive to impress Magic Johnson? Like, you pull up in your ride, what kind of ride would you have to have for Magic to be like, oh, that's a nice car you got there?
You use the term cute.
Yeah, you know what it would be? Like, you could be like 23, right? And you pull up in a dope ride, and Magic be like, oh, that's a start. Yeah, I remember my first Ferrari. Yeah, ain't that something? Matt, like, Alonzo go come in there stunting in his new car thinking he running something. Here come Magic. You saw that. What was Lonzo got the Lambo? Did you see that? Apparently Lonzo got the Lambo. Oh, no, LaMelo got the Lambo.
Yeah, LaMelo got the Lambo. LiAngelo got the Ferrari. And I believe Lonzo got the Benz Jeep.
Yo, LaMelo in the Lambo is the greatest example of insufficient daddying I have ever seen in my life. Because I feel like all you're saying is, I would love for the police to harass my son whenever they so please. And you know who's going to help the police harass his son whenever they so please? LaMelo. And you know how I know LaMelo's going to help them? Shannon, he's 16 and he's got a Lamborghini. How many stupid things would you do if you were 16 pushing a Lamborghini?
What's a speed limit? 16 with a Lambo? What's a speed limit?
Yo, that would be my one rule. Like, I don't care how cool that boy is. You could not ride in his car. That also reminds me of the time I was riding through Miami and I saw a Lamborghini, and then I looked up and saw the Domino's dots. The dude was delivering pizza. I promise you, I'm not making that up. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, will one of the best defensive players in the NFL play week 1? We'll talk about that on ESPN Radio.
Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
Welcome to the right time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. NFL season starts Thursday. We got games on Sunday, the whole situation. You know how that winds up going. Oh, by the way, Aaron Donald is holding out. Now, Shannon and I were talking about this before the show. Aaron Donald is one of these interesting cases where it's not quite a Mike Trout situation where Mike Trout's like one of the greatest baseball players of all time, and Mike Trout could walk in here right now and all I would do is call security. Would you know Aaron Donald if he walked in the room? I have no idea. Like, you have any idea what Aaron Donald looks like?
Yo, who's that big dude right there?
Well, I know he's not that tall, right? Because that was the holdup. Yes, but he's wide. He certainly is, right? Like, I don't know what Aaron Donald looks like. I know that everybody I fully trust to talk about football swears by Aaron Donald. I say I have to go with them on that level of trust because, you watch the Rams. That's not really something I do with my free time. Anyway, Aaron Donald is holding out. Right? It looks as though Aaron Donald will not be there for the first week of the season. Now, Donald is an interesting case because the NFL has basically legislated the holdout out of the game. Like, I realize that there's a generation of fans who probably don't have any real recollection that holdouts used to just be like a regular thing. Eric Dickerson had a legendary holdout. Emmitt Smith had a big holdout. We got all kinds of other guys we could point to. Sean Gilbert, Darrelle Revis' uncle, held out for an entire season in order to get his bread. Like, cats used to hold out all the time to try to get their bread. It doesn't happen that much anymore. Now, part of why it doesn't happen as much anymore also is now you have rookie salary sliding. So you have rookies that were holding out all the time. Joey Bosa held out last year, and it was crazy because it was basically over, like, terms in the paperwork. Like, that's where we were. Aaron Donald is maybe the best defensive player in the NFL, and I guess J.J. Watt, back injury notwithstanding, I feel like it's the Kang until somebody tells me he's not the Kang, right? By the way, shout out to J.J. All that money you raised for the hometown. Greatly appreciate it. But with Aaron Donald holding out now, how long is he willing to go with this? Like, is he the guy that's willing to be the gangster that's really going to sit out a whole bunch of time? Because they hit you with so many fines and everything else if you hold out. But Aaron Donald's looking at it like this. He's supposed to make $1.8 million this year. $6.9 million in 2018. 2018 is the last year of his contract. NFL teams are generally reluctant to renegotiate your contract before you get into the last year of it, unless you are a quarterback. Aaron Donald is not a quarterback, but again, possibly the best defensive player in the NFL. Shannon, how long do you think he's willing to sit?
Apparently, it looks like Donald's in it for the long haul. Like, I'm willing to do this. I've saved my money. I've invested wisely. I'm willing to do this for the entire season.
Well, all right, the question there about I've saved my money makes me wonder, like, what his lifestyle is, because he makes a lot of money, but if he's only making if he's making $1.8 million this year, then he didn't make that much money, like, leading up. I guess there's a bonus on the front end, but he's looking at this. The only way that I can see this making sense is he's looking at it like this. Oh, yeah, they're going to waive these fines. Like, when it's time for me to come back, don't you worry. They're not about to hit me on any of these fines. They're going to waive these fines. Why are they going to waive these fines? Because they're going to want Aaron Donald back. That's why they're going to waive these fines. And now we have a great player that seems to be set for a full-on holdout. Now, I saw some earlier talking about all the different players that have held out since the new collective bargaining agreement came out, the 2011 one. I feel like Cam Chancellor is like the last big holdout that we could remember, right? And I think he missed a couple of games and then ultimately wound up coming back. But Cam Chancellor, as much as he is a unicorn of sorts, a destructive, like violent unicorn, but unicorn nonetheless, he's not Aaron Donald. He's not that guy. He's not that good. They going to have to pay him? Because I feel like the last thing the NFL wants as a league is for Aaron Donald to strong-arm this and make it go the way he wants to. Because you know what that means, Shannon? Somebody else going to get that same bright idea.
Like, really, when is it going to be? Who's going to be the player, or what's going to be the organization that's going to put their foot down and say, no, we're not going to buckle? Like, we're willing to allow this guy to sit out the entire year.
Are they going to do that with this dude? Because I think there's a lot of dudes they do that with, but are they going to do that with this dude? Chancellor is the only guy to hold out and miss any game since 2011. You could say that Carson Palmer held out in 2011 and missed games, but Carson Palmer didn't hold out. Carson Palmer quit on his team. Not the same thing. And he had stacked a whole lot of bread because he got like old school bonus money, and then he got his extension and all of that stuff. Like, he had bread in a way that Aaron Donald does not have. No one's missed games but Chancellor. Chancellor missed those too. What happens if this dude misses the game and missing games and wins out? Because the holdout that we all remember, at least people of my age, that worked in that way was Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith, after they were coming off that Super Bowl win, Emmitt looked up and was like, yo, how come some of us have trouble getting our money and the quarterback does not? And that was the line drawn in the sand. He was like, oh, you're not going to give me my money? I'm going to sit here and I'm going to wait for my money. And the Cowboys went 0-2 to start the year. And I remember that they famously that year kept rolling out this same statistic over and over again, that no team that had ever started the season 0-2 had ever won a Super Bowl. And Jerry came in and gave Emmitt Smith his money. Like, right then, right there, he gave him his money. Because it's like, yo, bottom line, we got to do it. Shannon, here's the problem. The Rams are supposed to stink. So, like, what matters to them?
Of that, do you think they're weighing in this as well? It's like, well, the expectations for this team are low. Of course, nobody wants to go out there and lose, but I'm saying for this organization, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to get a higher draft seed.
Yep. And are they going to wait this out? And how long would he be willing to wait this out?
And I was just wondering, I was looking at the Rams roster and looking at who they're paying. They're really not paying that many guys. I mean, Tremaine Johnson, I think they franchised him, the cornerback. And you got Tavon Austin, who makes $14 mil, right? Then next is Mark Barron, who makes 11. I think Michael Brockers makes 11, and Robert Quinn makes 10. Like, those are the big money guys on that team.
But you know what this comes down to, Shannon. It's the principality, Smokey. It's the principality. And for the Rams, it is the principle. The Rams are not trying to give the signal to anyone that they will renegotiate your contract. Like, that's what they don't want anybody thinking. They don't want anybody that's had to be like this. Man, if I find out I gave you back your money, going to have a whole line of people trying to come back, trying to bring back CDs.
And you know who's going to be next in that line, too, right? They got a running back on that team, don't they?
Oh, they do. He better play better this year.
Yeah, well, he had that one big year, Todd Gurley.
Yep.
Production dipped a little bit last year, a lot of it. But he's still on that trajectory where, hey, it's going to be time to pay him.
And if you're a running back, man, you better hold out. Like, I mean, I do not believe, this is my general belief about football players. While I'll never get mad at anybody for a holdout, it doesn't matter if the idea they have is good or not. You should not step out to do this crazy thing called play football unless you are getting paid exactly what you feel like you deserve, right? Because I feel like we are asking so much out of you that I do not think that you should play beneath at all what you think it is that you deserve. Right? If you feel like you deserve X amount of dollars and they're not giving it to you, then do whatever it takes for you to get that X amount of dollars. If you feel like you'd rather walk away from the whole game than take the money they're paying you, then go ahead and do that. But I bet we wind up seeing a lot more holdouts as we go down the line because, look, man, these young boys are like, yo, this ain't really worth it. Like, it's hitting them a lot more quickly that, hey, man, this isn't worth it. I was talking to the homie Master the other day. Master Tefsation works at the Washington Post, and he is quite the millennial. Don't hold it against him, but he's quite the millennial. But he makes a very good point about being a millennial. He's like, look, man, millennials are idealistic as hell, man. Right? Like, that generation of people is a bit more likely to stand on some principles. Now, granted, some of the principles they're willing to stand on aren't exactly principles per se, but I wonder with as many of these young boys that we've seen that's walking away from the game, like playing a year and being like, nah, I'm good. I don't think this is good for me. How many more guys are we going to see that's like, look, it's simple as this, man. I'll quit unless y'all pay me. Like, how much more will this happen, and how will the league then ultimately handle it? Because it winds up being a dude that you need. Everything flips up. Now, all that being said about Donald, while we can say they're not supposed to be good, Shannon, they're still in year 2 in a new city where don't nobody give a damn about them. I feel like they probably need to get him back there. Probably. And if they don't, Aaron Donald, like, don't worry, I got my bread. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Give us a call. Coming up next, speaking of this discussion, 22-year-old safety had to be talked out of retirement. Should you ever try to talk a football player out of retirement? Catch you up on that on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Turn it up! We are presented by Progressive Insurance. That's the old soul song of the day. Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears, which is like on that top 10 list of absolutely perfect songs. Whenever you get to the bridge on Everybody Wants to Rule the World, you can't tell me it doesn't make you feel good. It's just automatic, like inspiring at that moment with actually a pretty cynical observation. Chad, this is like Everybody Want a Ball by UGK, except I think these cats from Australia.
Are they from Australia?
I think so. Tears for Fears also, like, that was it, the Songs to the Big Chair album. Like, they had the one big album that everybody knows, and I don't feel like anybody knows anything. I don't have any other Tears for Fears for you, other than, like, that would shout, like, everything off that first record cracks. And they're English, my fault. I knew they talked funny. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. The Right Time is brought to you by Select Quote. Free personalized quotes in just 10 minutes. Call 1-800-290-0303 or go to selectquote.com. All right. We're still waiting on hearing something about Ezekiel Elliott. Shanny, y'all work in Bristol. I imagine y'all find out before I do. Y'all going to let me know?
Keep hitting refresh on the computer.
Nothing. We're getting nothing. We don't have any idea. Harry Henderson locked himself in the office. Harry Henderson put all the phone lines in his office on hold. He said to everybody to voicemail.
Apparently, we have to look at the chimney, and if there's gray smoke, it's one thing, and if it's black smoke, it's another.
They coming up to Harry's door like, hey, Harry, look, you want it fast or you want it good, huh? Which one is it? Hey, Harry, it's Raj. Harry not home right now. I tell him you called. Like, just imagine how tense it has to be that dude right now. Anyway, Sue Cravens, a safety for the football team in Washington. Apparently, he wants to retire. He was on one of those social media platforms that the kids love where you put videos up. And he said it's just not in him as of now. We talked to Darren Woodson about this earlier, and he was just like, hey, man, this has to be in you. If you want to do this, this has to be in you. And apparently for Cravens, it's not in him. Now, Cravens apparently last year suffered a concussion, and that he said that the result of the concussion is he's going to have to wear glasses for the rest of his life. Right? Like, I mean, this is football stuff. I feel like these are the kinds of things that happen to guys all the time, and we don't hear about it, and we just take for granted the level of pain and abuse that these cats are willing to endure in order to play. Cravens looks like, nah, man, I'm good. Nope. That's it. I'm straight. He told the guys in his DB group that he was going to wind up being gone. Washington then tried to talk him out of retiring. And at first I had a problem with the idea that the team was trying to talk him out of retiring. But no, I think I think they did okay in this regard. They're like, look, if you want to retire, okay, we'll put you on I forget which list they've got him on, but he's got to stay on there for a year. So, I mean, for 4 months. I mean, a month. But, 4 weeks. There we go. Silly me. 4 weeks. He has to stay on that list for 4 weeks. 4 weeks, I think, is a good time for the dude to stop and think about whether or not this is actually what he wants to do. And if this is what he actually wants to do, he should absolutely walk away. But, Shad, have you noticed, like, a lot of fans that are just also, like, calling this dude soft for not wanting to play NFL football?
That's the thing about fans is that they don't look at these players as people. They just look at them as commodities. And if you can't, for whatever reason, can't go out there and perform, we're just going to dog you. Like, we don't take that personal stuff into consideration. People just don't.
Call me soft, because I ain't trying to do it. Like, I mean, just playing safety, no less. Can you imagine that? Like an in-the-box safety? Can you imagine that?
And the thing about Cravens is he was kind of playing a safety linebacker hybrid.
Yes.
So he was taking on more contact than a normal safety would, and he didn't have the weight of a typical linebacker. So he's a guy, more traditional safety size, taking on the hits of a linebacker.
Right. And look, these are the sorts of things. I remember when I was in high school, I was talking to this dude. He played center on the football team, right? But he was like a high school-sized center. Our tackles, by the way, Shannon, this is Texas for you. Our left tackle was 330. Our right tackle was 350. Texas, right? But the center, I remember he was like 185 or something like that. And I remember him talking about it, and he was just like, yeah, the best feeling is when you hit somebody and you can see the snot come out their nose. Yo, that's how hard 185 hits. That's what 185 does. Can you imagine just being out here doing this? Like, I think we just totally lose sight of what it is that these cats are asked to do. Like, I remember when I first got started covering sports and stuff, I was it was Morehouse's homecoming. Yeah, I covered a Clark Morehouse game on the sideline. These are Division II schools. Neither of them at the time were especially good at football. Like, these cats looked pretty regular, right? And so I was standing on the sideline. I remember I was standing on the sideline because that's when Denzel Washington's son, the one that's on Ballers, he was on the team, right? So I remember I'm standing on the sideline. I'm standing behind Denzel Washington. And I was watching that football game from that sideline distance, and I was like, oh, my God, I cannot believe this. And that was Division II. That was Division II. I think you went to this game. We didn't go together, Shannon. That 08 game, that Virginia Tech, North Carolina game, the one where T.J. Yates got hurt and Mike Paulus' career ended before it started.
Yeah, I was at that game, yes.
I was on the sideline for the last possession of that game where this redshirt freshman quarterback is dropping back and Bud Foster is like, oh, fresh meat. And I just couldn't believe how fast those dudes were getting there. I just couldn't imagine being asked to be the person to stand there while all those people came. And I got to not just find somebody to throw the ball to, I got to find a dude that's open. Because I can throw the ball to somebody. There's a fat dude right in front of me. I'll throw the ball to him if that's all I got to do is hot potato this thing. You mean I got to get it to somebody way down the field?
I think also we lose context at times because all these guys out in the field seem big, but then you see them next to a regular-sized person, you realize how gigantic these huge NFL players are.
They're huge. Like, look up Sua Cravens. Like, give me his height, weight, right? Because also I think what's happened is our society has gotten a bit more obese. Like, we really kind of have ignored that 200 pounds is large.
All right, Sua Cravens, 6'1", 216.
6'1", 216. Shannon, that's huge. Like 6'1", 216 pounds, and not just any old 216 pounds. The 216 pounds you got to be to play in the league. That dude is huge, and he's an undersized linebacker. Like a way undersized linebacker. That's insane. It's absolutely insane. Like 216 pounds, you a heavyweight boxer. You bigger than Evander Holyfield. Right, think about it in that way. You're bigger than Evander Holyfield. You don't want those problems. Except that dude is the one looking at the rest of the league like, no, I don't actually want those problems. I don't want any part of that. And that's just what we ask these cats to do, man. So, when I hear people talk about that, the idea that he is soft or anything, I guess, I don't want to make it too much of a straw man because there's always going to be unreasonable people. But rather than, I guess, getting locked into the thought of whether or not Sua Craven is soft, just think about what it says about these other cats, right? Like, what was it say when we had him on earlier, talking about hitting 240-pound people, and when his mom talked about how crazy he had to be to just decide, I want to run into somebody 240 pounds. Oh, my God, I don't want to run into somebody 240 pounds on, 57th Street. Oh, my bad, I didn't see you was there. Hold on, let me pick up my bag. 888-729-3776. Hit the phone, talk to Jacob in West Virginia. Jacob, thanks for calling the right time. Oh, okay. That disappeared just that fast. All right. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, find out if we've got a decision on Zeke Elliott. You listen to ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. Welcome back to the right time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Now you can test drive Snapshot even if you have insurance with another company, see how much you can save before you switch. And, all right, guys, I know a lot of you guys, like Shannon, people call me controversial. You ever heard that one before?
I've heard it uttered a couple times.
Apparently, I accidentally said the most controversial thing last segment that I have ever said. And in fact, I feel like you said it first and then I just walked into it, which was that being 6'1", 215 pounds like Sua Cravens, that qualifies. You are a large man at 6'1", 215 pounds.
I thought that was pretty complimentary, yeah, and then factual.
Apparently that hit some people close to home. Where's this one gentleman? Well, there's one dude hit me with 216 pounds is huge when you built like JJ from Good Times. And I was going to say something that I had to delete a couple of times because that dude ain't got his picture there. Like, I really just wanted to be like, so how much you weigh, bro? Right? Here's another one on this one. Coming from you, you're a stick, 6'4", 160, 170 maximum. I haven't stepped on a scale in like 10 years. I have no idea. Here's Steve. I view it as small. I'm 6'4", 250, though. 6'1" to me is average. You don't get to decide what average is, by the way, right? So who knows? If the average weight is something higher, then I'll be the one to stand back on that one. But how wild is, like, we're talking about this, like, when we were younger, 200 pounds was like the baseline. Like, somebody who was 200 pounds was like, that was the standard for what a big dude is, right? Steph Curry now is 6'3", like 185, and we talk about how skinny he is. Like, everything is flipped, right? Like, I don't know what it is. Shannon, we blame it on the steroids and the food.
It has to be something, but to me, 215 is still 215.
Yeah, but like it is wild to me how, we are a fairly obese nation. I said this, and maybe that's what hit these people in the chest is, well, if you're saying 215 is huge, what you saying about me? I'm saying, dude, if 6'1", 215 walk past you, the sewer Craven, you gonna notice. Our whole point was that he is a large man in life and not a large man at all, but is asked to do the job of a large man. A couple of y'all got in your chubby feelings, and I just don't understand why you did that. 888-729-3776, that's our telephone number. It's up to Alex in North Carolina. Alex, thanks for calling the right time.
What's up, Bo? So
how you doing, man?
Not too bad. So on the 1996 Alabama team, only 21% of the players weighed over 200 pounds. Ken Stabler, who's their quarterback, weighed 177. You're talking about how much bigger we're getting. Nowadays in the NFL, over 350 players weighed over 300 pounds, and 6 topped out over 350. That's 356 players over 300 pounds in the NFL right now. That's how big we're getting.
And let's think about this also. So, Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson were on that 1964 Arkansas team that won the national championship. Those two guys were offensive linemen. Right? Like, that's the old line. But, hey, appreciate the call, man. Thanks so much. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Let's talk to Rodney in New Orleans. Rodney, what's going on, man?
Bomani, man, love the show, and I can't wait for the TV show, man. You're doing a great job. Hey, so I think most of these schmoes that are calling in griping about the weight, they're missing the point. I'm 6'2", 210. That is above average. So take that out of consideration. The boxing analogy you gave, what these fools are asked to do is to go do 2 or 3 rounds every Sunday with Evander Holyfield, and then wake up next Sunday and go, all right, I'm going to do that again. Right. And you have to do it 16 straight weeks. That's insane.
No, it's nuts. And we say that 16 straight weeks leads to an interesting point. Rodney, I appreciate the call. They've decided that the game is not going to be played in Miami with the Hurricane Irma coming through. I don't know what took them so long. I saw something that said that the forecast during the game was like 75 to 90 mile an hour winds. But we gonna see if it's a game.
Yeah, to your point, why did they wait so long? You had them already evacuating South Florida, so what were they going to hold out for this game? It made no sense.
I got us out of there just in time. Anyway, wow, I completely forgot what I was going to say. Armando Salguero of the Miami Herald sent a tweet, and he got a bad rap for this because he sent something saying that, look, if they have to postpone the game, playing 16 games in a row is not good. And people are like, but it's a hurricane, But he is absolutely right. Like, the Dolphins had to play 16 games in a row the year Hurricane Andrew came through. I think that was 1992 when that happened. We've had a couple other teams that had to play 16 games in a row. Like when my man talked about there, like fighting Holyfield for 3 rounds, they coming back and doing it for 16 straight weeks. Man, if the Dolphins were to have to do that, I just can't imagine what that is. And I do think something interesting is happening now. I think we're having a larger, broader discussion when we talk about football that involves some basic measure of sympathy for the players. And then you jerks who want to explain to us why you don't have to care. 888-729-3776. Let's talk to Jacob in West Virginia. Jacob, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, Bo, appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Coming from a high school in West Virginia in 2012, I remember coming to a bunch of college visits, and I can recall watching the games from the sideline and seeing the speed and the contact and just realizing this game is not for me. So I skipped out on maybe 3 full-ride scholarships to small D2 schools just, to preserve my body. So I completely agree with you. Most of these guys that are coming out now are going to have to make a decision to preserve their body or take the beating.
Hey, man, Jake, I appreciate the call, man. You have a good one. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone. That reminds me, I had a cousin who was like an all-city quarterback in Fort Worth. So that's legit, right? Man, he got to college with a couple of them practices. I believe I would like to focus on my academics. Well, one of my favorite stories from the family, my brother's a fairly sizable gentleman. It was coming around like 6th or 7th grade or whatever it was, and it's time to consider playing football. So my mom worked at Clark College at the time, and she, made some calls and got it to where they could stand on the sideline during the game. And she said they stood on the sideline, said they watched the game, said he didn't really say anything, said they were walking down the street, and then she looked up at him. He looked up at my mama and said, "I think I'll just be in the band." Yep, wise call. I think I'll just be in the band. I heard all kinds of stories like that. Like people in them stories, they realize, hey, you know what? We need to put a bookmark in this and try to do this on the show tomorrow. People in their stories when they realize that they didn't want any more parts of football. Right? Because I think there are a lot more of those stories out there that people are willing to tell. So, like, we got, like, Sue Cravens on the big NFL level or whatever it is. But y'all have got your stories, whether it's 7th grade, whether it's 9th grade, whether it's 12th grade, whatever it is. There's some moment where you looked up and you realized, like, nah. This is not what I am equipped to do.
Yeah, my 11-year-old son, when he was about, 8 or 9, doing the whole tackle football thing, and he was like, nah, this is not for me. He was like, I want to play football. I don't want to do football.
Did you ever play football like pads and tackle?
Never. I was more baseball and basketball, so I didn't do football.
I played football in 7th grade because I'm from Texas, and you go out there and you play football, right? That's what everybody does. Like, I don't think I had ever planned on playing football, but I looked at my class schedule that year, and they had put me in athletics. And I was like, okay. So they start, they never ask you if you want to play football because it's Texas. Of course you want to play football, right? And so I played football, and I really wasn't bad. I'm just incredibly small. You got to remember, if you don't know, I skipped a grade, right? I skipped a grade, and my birthday's at the end of August. So, in my grade, the best athlete was born in September of 1977. I was born in August of 1980. You see what I'm saying? We were in different places. Man, I played football for a year, and I'll never forget, man, because I was playing safety, like 10 yards off the line of scrimmage or whatever. And, middle school football is simple. You can figure out everything that's going on pretty easy, especially if you're the smart kid. So I'm there, and I remember they were working on the option, man, and I could see I was always where I needed to be. Like, I always had that part of the game down, man. I tried to go get this fullback, man. I tried to go low. That dude went lower than I did. He got his hand up under my face mask, and I swear on everything, man. He threw me up in the air, and I was parallel to the ground. And anybody that at any point in their life has ever been parallel to the ground, you know that there is a particular feeling. It's like being at the top of a roller coaster. Like, when you are parallel to the ground, everything feels strange. I was parallel to the ground. I fell straight down. I got up, and I didn't quit that day, but that was the day football quit me. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, catch up on what you haven't heard today, including me being rather furious about University of Texas football. I feel like my producers are antagonizing me on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and SiriusXM Channel 80. Welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Penzo Performance Line. Thanks to Darren Woodson for joining us in the 5 o'clock Eastern Hour. Thanks to Spencer Hall for joining us in the 4 o'clock Eastern Hour. Remember, if you miss anything live, check out the Right Time podcast available on the ESPN app. We are going to take a phone call right fast from Robbie in Nashville. Robbie, thanks for calling the Right Time.
Hey, what's going on, Bo? I'm a huge Longhorn fan, too, man. Don't let these guys get to you.
Yeah, man.
I grew up in East Texas, played high school football my junior year. It was Adrian Peterson's senior year. And, I was a good 5'9", 230. I thought I was built anyways. There's a huge difference from when I tackled him and when he trucked me. Trust me. It's like tackling a jungle gym in full motion, and he doesn't stop. So I'll tell you, man, those are specimens out there. Those aren't humans. I'm a human. You're a human. Those are specimens, Bo.
And wasn't Adrian Peterson basically the same size in high school as he was in the league?
Oh, yeah. It's like tackling a grown adult at 18 years old. And trust me, that handshake was real, too. He picked me up a couple times, so I can tell you.
Hey, Robbie, man, I appreciate it. You have a good one.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, now, we just had to go to that. We normally don't even do it that way. Anyway, Shannon, what we miss out on today?
One of the big storylines coming out of this weekend of college football, of course, is the loss suffered by the Texas Longhorns. They gave up a 50 spot at home to Maryland. And if you haven't
heard, didn't blow a 34-point lead.
We'll get to that. Well, if you haven't heard, here's Bomani Jones earlier today discussing the crushing loss by his Longhorns.
34. Do you know how hard you have to work to score 3 non-offensive touchdowns in a football game and still lose? Do you know how hard you have to work to score 3 non-offensive touchdowns and still give up 50 points? Do you realize how hard you have to work to do that? Do you realize how hard you have to work to lose to a team that lost its quarterback, that didn't look like he should have been playing quarterback in the first place? He looked like a damn fullback. You know what it's like to lose, and then they bring in a child with a do-rag on with the straps coming out the back of the helmet? It's 2017! This dude's still out here rocking a do-rag, and y'all lost! Dude, things came out of me I could not believe. Like, things I didn't even know I had in me. Shannon, you can speak to this. You know me. I am fairly dispassionate about my sports. I enjoy them, but I'm not that guy. I'm level. I'm rational. I know enough about college sports to know you can't win them all, right? I ain't never been sicker of this in my life than I am right now. I never have. I am so sick of this. This is year 8 of this nonsense, and it's still going on. Year 8. And y'all told me that if we hired this genius dude, right, that everything was going to wind up being okay. I told me if we hired this genius dude that everything was going to wind up being okay. The last coach said no matter who coaches here, this team should win 10 games. I knew enough about that roster to feel like that team should win 10 games. I got a first-round pick in all likelihood at left tackle. I watched him get worked like a turnstile by a dude who plays for Maryland.
All right, Bo, man. It was just one game, man. It was just one game.
I don't really understand what your point is.
It was just one game, man. It's the first game.
I don't really understand the point that you're making. Yeah, it was one game. You're damn right. That game wasn't supposed to be like that. It's not. Can I tell you the one time Texas football made me feel worse? I don't even know if we need to do any of the other stuff that we normally do, right? So, I mean, the story's going to start off sounding sad, but don't get all and all this stuff, right? I don't need you to do that. But, so, what had happened was, my aunt died, and so we went to Oklahoma for the funeral, right? And so we are there. I think it's when my aunt died. Either way, yeah, it was my aunt died. So we go there, and Texas played a game against BYU. Shannon, you know this Taysom Hill kid? You seen him in the preseason running around on people?
I do remember him.
He went to BYU, and he was coming off an ACL tear, and that dude was basically like one-legged, and I think he ran for something like 750 yards, man. You know what it's like to come from a funeral to watch something like that, and you in the state of Oklahoma, and if I can be real with you, my tastes in hotels have kind of stepped up farther than Oklahoma can generally go, especially when my mama, who is cheap, is the one who makes the reservation. That was pretty sad. Sorry, I think I told you the story wasn't sad. It was very sad.
No, I'm just that's why this game is just one game. But taking your Texas fandom aside, bigger surprise this weekend: UCLA's comeback on Texas A&M, or the Texas Longhorn giving up 50 points at home to Maryland.
Oh yeah, look, man, giving up 50 points at home to Maryland is embarrassing, right? Blowing a 34-point lead like they did is borderline impossible. Like, have you ever seen the game odd joints, like percent win, percent chance of winning at every turn? It just suddenly went off a cliff. That they did the impossible. And look, it's not the other team is coached by Jim Mora. Don't forget about this, right? Like, it's not like some master strategist was over there cooking up what to do with y'all. Y'all got cooked by another dude who needs to get fired. That made me feel better.
And Kevin Sumlin makes it to the end of the season?
Wow. Well, yeah, the end probably. Yeah, most likely.
Know about that.
Here's the better question. Is he going to make it to the end of the season without getting a haircut? What the hell he be doing, man? Like, what is that? Like, with that visor on, he's out there looking like Coach Douglas. Douglas with 2 S's.
He's holding on, man. He's holding on. Some guys aren't ready. Trust me, I know. Some guys aren't ready to come on home.
Like, it's the full brush back with But you know what? He need to go to that barbershop at the facility because apparently College Station is letting him down off campus. That's why they built that. That's why they built the barbershop on the locker room. Coach needs some place to get his hair cut. They've been doing him wrong in these streets.
Hey, look at that. See, it only took Texas A&M to make you feel better, Bo. See, look at that. And last, it's certainly not least, sticking with college football, it appears that Taylor Swift will be performing at the halftime of this year's college football playoff national championship game. Name your favorite Taylor Swift song.
The Beehive is going to heckle that thing to death. There's going to be like 500 Beehive members on the front row who don't know nothing about